Day 7 of the NBA playoffs just ended. Let's talk about it. Now we have Phoenix and this Clippers game. This Clippers and Phoenix game, man, it just makes me sad. It's kind of like a bubble for this whole first round so far because if you guys didn't know, which you probably didn't know, the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for this game and game 3, the one before this. Now, what makes me sad about this is obviously when you saw Kawhi play at the way he did game 1, you'd think that Clippers have a chance to win this series. And they probably do if Kawhi plays, especially if Paul George plays. Now, Russ in this game has 37 points, 6 boards, and 4 assists on 58% shooting. The Clippers would have won this game if either one of them played. Like, the Clippers kept it close with just their bench depth the majority of this game until the fourth quarter where the Suns started to pull away. But Russ mostly single-handedly kept it close. And it just makes me wonder what would happen if Kawhi was playing. Like, there was a serious chance that they can beat the Suns. Well, it's not going to happen now. They're down 3-1. But the series, they could have probably won. They definitely would have had a fighting chance to win the series. I also wonder what would happen if the Los Angeles Clippers never picked up Russell Westbrook. What would this series look like? Would it be a sweep? Because you know Russ made that crazy play at the beginning or at the end of the first game to win it. Would the Clippers get swept? What would happen? So, I don't know. It's just really sad to see for the Clippers. If you're the Suns aren't looking as strong as they're supposed to. Like, uh, like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they all look fine, but together as a team, the Suns aren't looking strong. A lot of people picked them to come out of the West. I picked them out too to come out of the West. So it's kind of weird seeing them get like almost manhandled by the Clippers in this first game, and especially in this game if Kawhi would have played. And the Clippers were able to keep it close, even with this big super team they created. But Chris Paul had some timely buckets in the fourth to win this game for the Suns. It's just kind of like what would happen if the Clippers were fully healthy, man. And I wonder what's going to happen with the Suns team going forward, because it's supposed to be this big super team going to the finals this year, especially coming out of the West. So I want to see what they do, and I want to see how these four play together, and if it's sustainable to be playing this way even without no bench depth, or with no bench depth and like a mediocre defense. I gotta say that this Memphis Lakers game did not disappoint. This game 3 did not disappoint. You could tell that the Lakers, after losing last game at at Memphis, were kind of juiced up to be back on their home floor, and they weren't gonna let this one like lose this one because they started off with like a 30 and like 4 run, and at the end of the third or at the end of the first quarter, the Memphis Grizzlies, a professional basketball team, only had 9 points. Like, holy crap, man. What the hell is going on? But other than that, man, the Lakers, but the Grizzlies kind of came back. They were always down by like 15 points. So it like they were always kind of like, can they really come back? They're kind of far away. I'm not sure. Um, but really, what impressed me, we got these Lakers. We'll go over the Lakers stats real quick. AD 31 points, 17 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 3 steals. LeBron 25 points, 9 rebounds, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. D'Lo 17 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. They all had good games, but who had the best game was Ja Morant. After being questionable for today, he really stepped up. 45 points, 13 assists, 9 rebounds, 50% from the field, and 60% from 3. Now, what worried me about John Morant is his athleticism, right? Because eventually, at like 40 years old, he's not going to have that athleticism anymore. But if you can become a solid shooter and definitely behind the 3 point arc, it's just going to increase your lifespan in the NBA so much. So that's exciting to see him knock down some threes. Um, what worried me a little bit about the Memphis Grizzlies is that um, so in the first quarter they had an awful first quarter, and everyone kind of reverted back to themselves. Jaren Jackson Jr. got like 2 fouls or 3 fouls really early in the game. Dylan Brooks like fucking nut tapped LeBron and got a flagrant 2 and got ejected. And Morant, Taylor Jenkins like refused to get rid of Morant at the end of the game, so it looks like he might be injured again. So that really sucks. I don't know what they were doing, but this was a really good game. For this Bucks Miami game, we'll start with the Heat first. Jimmy Butler in this game was incredible. Jimmy had 30 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists, 2 steals, 63% in 28 minutes, and he did not miss a 3. The Heat have a big bounce back game. Jimmy had like 17 points in the first quarter. I don't know what happened to the Heat, but they got their shit together to say. Um, I don't really know what to talk about. They look like a whole different team between game 2 and game 3. And I think part of that is they were able to hit threes, right? Because in the second game they struggled to hit threes, and the third game they didn't struggle to hit threes at all. Part of those threes came from Duncan Robinson, who had 5 threes. You would be forgiven for forgetting Duncan Robinson was in the league, let alone on the Heat. Um, but he got revived from the grave. His minutes came back from the grave for this game. And Eric Spoelstra should have won Coach of the Year for this adjustment alone. 5 threes. He wasn't even getting playing time in the first 2 games. He had 5 threes. This is Duncan Robinson. 20 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 77% shooting with 5 made threes. So it's going to be hard to come back as a team, especially without Giannis for Milwaukee, if you're allowing that kind of like shooting against them. And Milwaukee's offense was good. It was just the defense, man. The Milwaukee defense was not great. All right, let's talk about Milwaukee now. Drew started this game very hot. He started 4 for 4, and I would say that the Milwaukee offense started very hot too. It was unlike game 1. Game 1 they couldn't make a 3-pointer. This game they could make threes. They just couldn't stop the Heat from making threes too. Um, Drew had a good game. Chris had a good game. They were both in the low 20s, I think, in points. And it was just a struggle for them. This Heat defense tonight was turned up, and they were forcing a lot of turnovers. They had 17 turnovers, and the Bucks trailed going into the fourth quarter by 20. So it was hard to get back in the game, and that fourth quarter, their shooting kind of fell off a cliff and everything. I'm still not worried about the Bucks. If the Bucks really wanted to, they could make Giannis play. And the Bucks are just a better team. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing for the Heat. Victor Oladipo got hurt. He had this really rough landing. You hate to see it. I would doubt if you see him in another postseason game, or especially this series. There's no official injury, but it just looked like a hard fall. So, prayers up for Victor Oladipo. Also, Jimmy Butler had to go back to the locker room for a couple minutes. He took a pretty bad fall. It looked like he landed on his tailbone under the basket. He came back out, but he had like this thing around his waist, maybe like an ice pack or something. I'm not really sure. But if he's out for the next game, I probably wouldn't be surprised. Next up is this Brooklyn-Philadelphia game. I don't really have a lot to say on this one. If the Nets were going to take a game, It would probably was last game. They didn't shoot particularly well in this game either. Philadelphia was able to get it done without Embiid. Their bench is just more competent, and they look like a playoff team, while the Nets just looks like they've never played together, which is to be expected because this team was put together at the trade deadline, right? Tobias Harris for the Sixers had 25 points, 12 boards, and 1 assist. And Harden had 17 points, 8 boards, and 11 assists on a near triple double, but it was only on 22% shooting. Um, this if the Nets were gonna take a game, they needed a big Mikal Bridges game, and really they just didn't get it. The only net above 20 points in this game was Spencer Dinwiddie. Everyone else was in like all the starters were in like the 10 to 15 range. No one really stepped up. Mikal Bridges had 17 points. So Nick Claxton was pretty much the only notable net for this game. 19 points, 12 boards, and 1 assist on 80% shooting. Um, we'll see how Brooklyn, or not Brooklyn, we'll see how Philadelphia looks in this next series against Boston. I don't mean to count you out, Atlanta, but I think Boston's coming out. We'll see how Philadelphia looks against Boston and see if they can break the second round curse that they have going on. And that's going to do it for the NBA playoffs today. Tell me what you thought about any of the games. What do you think about Philadelphia finishing their series? What do you think about the blowout by the Memphis by Grizzlies? Um, what do you think about the Heat without Butler, with Butler? Um, Leave a comment. I will 100% reply, and maybe even featured in a video. So see you tomorrow, guys.